A shocking attack at one of the most popular marathons in the world.
Shockwaves just hit my whole body and my legs just started jittering around.
Local runners there for the race share their terrifying stories and sorrow for the victims of the bombing.
It took a day that should be just so wonderful. I ran my best race ever today, and I could care less.
Plus the local heroes who rushed in to help moments after the explosions. We have the latest from Boston on the investigation into this terror attack. At 11 o'clock, I'm Jeff Gianola, and let's get to the facts right now. Here's what we know. 3 people are dead, including an 8-year-old boy. More than 140 people hurt in that attack. Right now, our affiliate in Boston is reporting police are searching an apartment in a Boston suburb tonight as part of the investigation into the bombing. Security being tightened tonight at national landmarks like the Empire State Building, United Nations, and the World Trade Center site. Benita Nair has the latest from Boston.
Much of downtown Boston remains shut down as police investigate a crime scene that is several blocks long. Even hours after these blasts, they are going from trash can to trash can along the marathon route, as well as the surrounding streets, to make sure there are no more explosives. The first bomb went off just before 3 p.m. near the finish line of the Boston Marathon, sending smoke into the air and runners and spectators to the ground. Then a second explosion went off 2 blocks away. Medical personnel stationed at the finish line to care for fatigued runners became battlefield medics. The injured, some missing limbs, were placed into wheelchairs and rushed to waiting ambulances.
The most common serious injuries are combined lower extremity injuries, combined meaning bone injuries, soft tissue injuries, and vascular injuries.
Witnesses were stunned.
It sounded like something horrible, and everyone just stopped and looked around and just had this horrible feeling.
Authorities are also searching the entire marathon route for clues.
We are stabilizing the situation at this point in time, but people should be cautious.
After the explosion, cell phone service in these surrounding areas was completely shut down to prevent any possible remote explosive detonations, but they are still unclear how the bombs were set off. President Obama promised federal help for victims and their families.
Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice.
Sources tell CBS News that a man is being detained and police are questioning him, but he is not being called a suspect. Investigators are also looking at surveillance tapes and other images of the scene before and after the explosions to try to piece together what happened and who might be responsible. In Boston, Benita Nair, KOIN 6 News.
And we now know a 78-year-old Washington man was among those hurt. He was running his 3rd Boston Marathon when he was knocked down by one of the bomb blasts. You see him on the ground right there.
This tremendous explosion sounded like a bomb went off right next to me, and shockwaves just hit my whole body, and my legs just started jittering around. I knew I was going down.
Now that's Bill Efrig of Lake Stevens in this picture taken by a Boston Globe photographer. Efrig says a race official helped him to his feet after that blast. He says he hurt his knee in the fall, but is otherwise okay. He is back in his hotel room in Boston tonight, and he says he is resting. The Northwest was well represented at the Boston Marathon. Of the nearly 17,000 people who were running in the race, 351 were from Oregon, 527 from Washington State. We have team coverage of the local response to the bombing. Cor Harlan has been looking into security and plans for other major events in our area. But we begin with Jolie Winaga, who talked with some of those local runners who just returned home from Boston tonight. Joel?
Blessed and thankful, Jeff. Those are the 2 words we heard repeatedly tonight as runners got off their plane tonight right here at PDX. Now, we met up with 2 brothers, Russ and Jeff Harbaugh. Both those guys crossed the finish line this afternoon. Get this, just 40 minutes prior to those deadly blasts.
It's kind of scary to think that we were that close to something like that happening, yeah.
Arriving from Boston at PDX tonight, Jeff Harbaugh of Portland and his brother Russ gather their emotions after what was supposed to be a momentous day, with both finishing the Boston Marathon. But just 40 minutes later, the deadly explosions.
I felt very lucky for the fact that it didn't happen to us, because it could have happened to either one of us at any time. And like I said, my heart just goes out to those families and the people that are suffering.
Dozens more runners from the Portland area are still in Boston tonight, like Brittany Van Vleck from Beaverton, who spoke to me by phone, who finished the race on a personal best, but tonight she says the race means nothing.
It's very hard, but it took a day that should be just so wonderful. And it's like, I mean, it's so beyond the point. I ran my best race ever today, and I could care less.
Sentiment felt among the runners tonight. Their hearts and prayers go out to the victims and their families.
There's over 1 million people along the route cheering the whole way, and then to, find out that this, act of terror, whatever it is, has spoiled the whole thing for so many people.
It's kind of scary because it wasn't very far behind us, for our times of what we were running, and we had just passed through the finish line.
Stories of bravery, heroism, and emotion brought back from Boston to Portland. Local runners back in the Rose City with thoughts of back east. Yeah, runners on tonight's flight reminded just how fragile life can be. We tried to interview another runner, who politely declined our request for an interview. He said he really had to get home to his wife and his children to give them a hug. Reporting live here at PDX tonight, I'm Joel Iwanaga at KOIN 6 News. Jeff, we'll send it back to you.
Okay, Joel, other images from tonight. The University of Portland paid tribute to the victims. They just posted this video online of a candlelight vigil tonight on campus. About 100 people showed up. New recordings just released tonight, and let us hear the radio traffic from the first responders in Boston seconds after the blasts.
Explosions. We have a multi-casualties incident here. We have at least a dozen serious injuries. Second alert. I need all officers down here. Checking with secondary devices. Any suspicious items. Okay, move people back.
Haunting recordings. Now, local police tell us tonight they're waiting to hear more about today's attack to see what they can learn from the Boston response. Meanwhile, local event organizers are reassessing security plans for everything from the Rose Festival to the Vancouver Marathon. Cor Harlan has been talking to organizers about what's next. He's live aboard a MAX train downtown tonight with more. Cor?
Well, Jeff, a lot of folks, the events you mentioned, are reassessing their security plans in light of this events that happened today. MAX commuters also had a heightened sense of alertness as they were greeted on their rides home tonight. As they mentioned, security police, transit police were on the trains early this afternoon, giving the trains a very close look over. K9 on board, please. Fleet dials clear. The bomb-sniffing dogs on the MAX train are part of what officers describe as routine police patrols. But on a day like this, with the Boston Marathon bombings fresh in everyone's mind, the rush hour patrol is anything but routine.
The thought definitely creeps into your mind after events like today and past events that have happened. Anytime you're in a group with a lot of people, again, after today, the thought's going to creep into your head.
Keep the aisles clear, please. The Boston bombing did not stop Raymond Mulatalo from getting on the train at Pioneer Square, but he says he feels a little more leery about riding the train.
Yeah, I do. My security and whoever might think of doing that on these kind of days, yes, I do.
Portland police are not making any security changes yet.
Once things settle down and we learn what happened, it may be something we can learn from on major events.
My Facebook's been blowing up all day today. We put some comments out there. There's people that we have that are in our running community out there running right now that we know, and there was a lot of feedback. Are they safe? Did we heard from them? So this really hits home.
Brian Davis, organizer of Vancouver's marathon, June the 16th, says the targeting of an organized running event, even if it is on the East Coast, is an assault everyone who's a competitive runner feels in a very personal way.
People have trained for this. They're going there. They had to qualify for it. Ours is a Boston qualifier, but they worked hard, and now to take that, and it's just sad.
Davis says Vancouver police, event staff, and the private security firm hired for the Vancouver Marathon collectively have a security plan in place. They'll be reviewing it in the days ahead to see if there isn't something that can be improved. Now back here at a live picture on a Max line downtown. You can see the security still present here at 11 o'clock tonight. Also talked with the Rose Festival today about upcoming events. Rose Festival Grand Floral Parade. Rose Festival telling us that they are essentially going over their security plan in very specific detail and seeing if there are any areas where they can improve the security for the Rose Festival as well. Reporting live in downtown Portland, Cor Harlan, Point 6 News. Jeff?
Okay, Cor, thank you. We have more stories from local runners in the marathon coming up, so stay with us for that. More reaction. And we're still waiting to learn exactly who carried out this attack and a possible motive. We told you about a search going on in an apartment in a Boston suburb right now as we speak. And we'll bring you any updates as we get them on air and online at KOIN.com.